Testing, testing. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Moreno Show. Hope you are feeling good. Guys, RFK Jr. did it again. He just stunned everyone on live TV. He even stunned me, which is honestly really saying something because at this point, I thought I heard it all, but clearly I was mistaken. Also, sometimes I think videos like this get a little old because sometimes RFK Jr. will say the same thing. But honestly, I don't feel that way anymore because I've learned that sometimes you need to say the same thing in a new way for a new audience to hear. And I see that all the time on my channel. So many people who have never heard of RFK Jr., who've never been a part of these conversations, they suddenly get drawn in, they get captured, and then they just never look back. And I think whenever we commit to that again and again, the future changes. And I just think it's really powerful. So I saw this interview. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, but it had so little views. It almost had no impact. And I was like, this is absolutely criminal. So I figured, let me just go ahead and play this entire thing without me yapping so we could actually get this in front of as many people as possible. And this is an interview that was on a Newsmax. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the whole thing. Also, if I could just say this, I never say this, but in a broader sense, I know I always say like, oh, well, like and subscribe, things like that. But it's not just liking a video. It's not just subscribing to a channel. It really is voting for a future that does not yet exist. It's choosing to elevate these conversations. It's saying, you know what, this is powerful. This has impacted me. I want to get this in front of as many people as possible. And I want to elevate this in this digital town square that I'm participating in. And I think that's really powerful. So please consider liking and subscribing. It really, really does mean the world. And it honestly changes the future. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is our Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been leading the Make America Healthy Again movement. RFK Jr. is the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services. I just spoke with him. Mr. Secretary, nice to see you again, sir.
You too, Greta. Thanks for having me.
You have said you want to make America healthy again, which I think is a very laudable goal. We all want that. But I'm curious where did we go off the track? How did we become less healthy? And about when did we start making that turn?
Well, you know, it started really, I think the real insults to human health began, America's health, the decline of American health really accelerated in the late 1980s and the early 1990s. And a bunch of things happened then, a bunch of new exposures. And at that time, Greta, the tobacco industry took over the food industry. So by the early 1990s, the two biggest food companies in the world were R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris. And they began moving scientists from the endeavor of making tobacco more addictive, develop new lab ingredients that would make food addictive. And they began adding sodium and sugars to our food and other chemicals to mimic taste, but not to provide nutrition. And our food itself became more and more ultra-processed. It's less nutrient-dense, and it's more reliant on chemicals. And those chemicals were largely untested because due to the capture of FDA by the food industry and by the drug industry. And they were able to weaponize what is called the GRAS standard, which is a standard called generally recognized as safe. When FDA first began regulating foods in the 1940s, it exempted food ingredients that had been used for generations, like wheat and eggs and dairy, et cetera. And it said, we don't have to test those. We're only going to test the new stuff. And they applied a label called generally recognized as safe to those ancient ingredients. The food industry was able to capture that and apply it to every new chemical that was added that they wanted to add for food. So we have 10,000 ingredients in our food in the United States. In Europe, they only have 400. Because in our country alone, chemicals are never tested, safety tested before they're added to food. So we have all these petroleum-based synthetic food dyes, and we have chemicals that mimic the taste of strawberries and blueberries, but there's no nutrition in them. And your body, if they trick your body and hijack your brain into eating more and more food and getting less and less nutrition. So we're now the fourth most obese country in the world, but we also have, for the first time in history, this phenomena where obesity is accompanied very often by malnutrition. The people who are most obese are also malnourished, and that's never been seen before in human history.
Let me bring the question of obesity. There are some new obesity drugs, Zepbound, Ozempic, Ozempia, whatever, I can't remember the name exactly, but those are very expensive. And it seems to me that if we made them available to those who wanted them, that would help them. It would take some of the cost on health, on heart, because if you're overweight, you're putting a lot of stress on your heart. It would save some money, save your health. Also a little bit self-esteem. But these drugs that may be sort of beneficial are out of reach of so many people.
Yeah, and that is an issue. For us, it's mainly a cost issue. These drugs are very expensive. Ozempic is sold for about $1,300 a month. And in Europe, by the way, in England, you can get it for $88 or $88 a dose. We pay $1,300 a dose, which is a weekly dose. And if we made that so that Medicaid, Medicare paid for it, it would, and that private insurance companies had to pay for it, we would double the cost of health insurance to most employers in this country, and that would really be destructive. So these are miracle drugs in many ways. As you point out, if you can reduce obesity, you're also reducing diabetes and heart disease and a lot of other comorbidities. And it's something that, could be very beneficial to many people in the American population. And right now, the big impediment is really price. And we're negotiating that with the drug companies and seeing if we can at least launch some pilot programs, or if we can get the price low enough, we can make it available at government cost to everybody.
I'm a vegan by choice, but I'm not so sure all the vegan food I necessarily buy is so healthy. But in many ways, it's a luxury because it's a little harder to navigate a vegan diet. My husband's not one. I mean, I don't push my vegan diet on anybody. But I've seen the president eat hamburgers and French fries and Diet Coke. How's your diet? What do you eat? How are you doing?
I eat a lot of protein. I stay away from packaged foods. I eat whole foods. If it comes from the ground, if it comes from an animal, if it comes from the ocean or from the air, I will eat it. But I don't eat anything that comes in a package. And that's, otherwise I'm pretty eclectic in my diet, and I do eat a tremendous amount of protein.
Let me go back to the FDA, and maybe you can help me out on this one. I know you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. We're both lawyers. But sometimes the FDA has a very Byzantine cobweb process for getting good, important drugs that are safe and effective to market. And there is one drug, and I'm not asking you to, I know you can't do anything about it. You're not a doctor, but I would love it. I talked to Dr. Oz about this drug. I would love it if you could ask the FDA to just look at it for accelerated approval, because it's been found safe and effective, saves lives, which means saves money. It's called pelacarsen, and it's a drug. It's a drug to treat something called lipoprotein A that Dr. Oz, who's one of your colleagues, and I discuss all the time. But it's stuck in this long process of approval, despite tests showing it's safe and it's effective. And obviously, and actually, I have a family member, which is my self-interest, who desperately needs this drug. Can you just ask them to look at it for what's called accelerated approval?
Well, yeah, I'll talk to Marty McCary about that, who's running FDA. What does Dr. Oz say about it?
Well, he and I talked about lipoprotein A is something that 15 to 20% of the American population have, and it's like putting a time bomb in your chest. You know those stories where you see someone who's physically fit, runs, gets exercise, all of a sudden drops dead. It's oftentimes a cardiac issue associated with lipoprotein A, and there hasn't been a treatment for it until now. And that's this pelacarsen, and it looks like from all the studies, and I'm not a doctor, don't pretend, I don't even try to play one on TV, but it's done it looks like it's going to be almost a miracle drug to treat this for 20% of the population if they want it. But it's going to take more than a year to get to market, and it's because of our FDA regulations, and it's going to save an awful lot of money, healthcare costs, if people get it. And it ought to be on market now and not have to wait, continue to wait. It's going to get approved in a year, but in a year a lot can happen to a lot of people.
Well, I will check with Marty. I mean, Marty McCary, who is now running the FDA, his ambition is to accelerate the approval of drugs that work. Of course, they need to go through the regulatory process. They need to do placebo-controlled trials and phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 trials. We're figuring out all kinds of exciting new ways to accelerate that using AI. And for the first time, we are now getting the same computer system and the same software into all of the different divisions of FDA, and we're going to be able to look at data much more quickly, and we're going to be able to do these approvals a lot faster than they were done in the past.
What surprises you about your new job? What do you like about it, and what don't you like about it?
I really love the job. I feel like I was made to do this job. And the team that we have here is extraordinary. There are a lot of people who are coming to HHS now because they see an intergenerational opportunity to really change the way that we're doing things, and we're moving very fast. We've announced a ban of all of the petroleum-based synthetic food dyes. We have changed the GRAS standards so people can't get a rubber stamp to put chemicals in our food anymore. We're going back and reviewing the chemicals that are in our food. We've launched Operation Stork Speed to make sure mothers in this country can get the healthiest milk for their children. We're reviewing the food standards. The food dietary guidelines were captured by the industry for many years, and that's why Fruit Loops was the top of the food pyramid, which is absurd. And we are now doing real science-based, gold standard science, and we're going to have a very, very comprehensible. The dietary guidelines that we got from the Biden administration that we inherited were 453 pages long, and they were incomprehensible, and they were really just a template for industry capture, for promoting bad foods that people should not be eating. We're going to have a very simple, I've asked them for a 4-page guideline that can tell people to eat whole foods, eat meat, eat protein, eat vegetables and fruits, and try to eat locally. Try to find local sources of your food, and then we're going to make that very comprehensible, and that's going to change the school lunch program. And I think it's going to have a dramatic impact on public health in this country, particularly for our children.
Oh my goodness. Does it feel good knowing that someone like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is working so hard, so desperately to create this future for me and for you, for people who aren't even alive right now, but are going to be in the future? This is just so amazing. Anyways, let me know what you thought about this interview in the comment section. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What do you have questions about? Please let me know in the comment section. We love an endless amount of perspectives here. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Please consider liking and subscribing if you want to be part of these conversations in the future. And I will see you all next time. Episode's over already? Geez, that was fast. Well, they say beautiful things do not last forever, but feel free to watch and listen to another one of these episodes if you're interested in those conversations as well. Also, this next part is huge. Make sure to obliterate that like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never skip a beat. I also have a newsletter where we dive into the news, politics, and ideas that shape our future. If you're interested in signing up, I'd really appreciate that. Anyways, that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time.